So looking at the price-quality ratio, and what we get here, at least at the first glance, is quite remarkable. There are pretty much no compromises when it comes to materials used and sourcing the movement. Yes, this Bauhaus-style timepiece is powered by a premium Japanese Miyota caliber with a power reserve complication, which on its own cost about half of this watch. And we even get an exhibition case back so we can enjoy the view of that well-finished movement. However, movement is only half the story here. WM Watch took care of pretty much everything else. Okay, there are a few nuances that we still need to discuss. Will those nuances turn into deal breakers? Well, let's take a closer look and find out. Hello and welcome back. Okay, if you are familiar with German watch brands, you might recognize some cues, to put it mildly, of one of the older models from Junkers. And as a matter of fact, there is another German company that makes a Bauhaus-style watch with a very similar dial layout called Iron Annie. And one of the key reasons for the similar layout of these three watches from three different brands is actually very simple. And we will discuss it in a moment. However, before we do, for full transparency, WM Watch did send me this Bauhaus-style timepiece for review, and I get to keep it. The only thing that they asked in return was to share a comprehensive review of this watch with you, ladies and gentlemen, and of course point you to the product listings should you want to explore it further. And so, as usual, all the necessary links will be in the description of this video. So back to our discussion about the similarity of the dial layouts between these three watches from three different brands. Well, as I pointed out, the reason is quite simple. All three are based on the same Japanese movement, Miyota 9132 caliber to be exact. This caliber is part of Miyota premium movement lineup, and it beats at a higher rate of 28,800 vibrations per hour, has higher accuracy tolerances and features better finishing, which makes it quite attractive. However, looking at these three timepieces, while the movement in the back is pretty much the same, there are two components of these watches that are quite different. Okay, just to be clear, this is not in any way a comparison video between these three models. In this case, I'll just share what is known from the paper specifications. And the key differences are the materials used for the crystal, and as you might have guessed, the price. So, starting with materials, Junkers used Hesselite, also known as see-through plastic. Iron Annie used mineral glass, and WM Watches actually made this boxed double-dome bubble crystal out of Sapphire. Now, as for the price, well, we get similar picture but in reverse. So brand new Junkers retails for around $1,000 and Iron Annie around half of that. And if you guess that this WM Watch Bauhaus timepiece is half of Iron Annie price, well, you will be correct. Another small bonus, or maybe not so small, is that this WM watch comes in a bunch of different colorways and bracelet variations. As you can see, it is priced around $290. However, during sales, like we had just recently, this Bauhaus-style watch can be found priced even lower at around $270, which is seriously competitive, especially if we take into account the movement and this massive bubble-boxed piece of sapphire crystal. But there is definitely more to this watch. So we have 40mm case diameter, 20mm lugs, maintaining that 1:2 proportion ratio. Case height is 12.8mm, out of which at least 2mm is taken by that boxed sapphire crystal. Lug-to-lug distance is 43.5mm. Such a compact lug-to-lug distance will make this 40mm case work on pretty much most wrist sizes, starting from about 6 inches and up. The full length of the supplied bracelet should cover up to 8.5 inches or 21 cm wrists in circumference, and this watch weighs 131 grams and 119 grams after sizing it to my about 7-inch wrist. We have a classic dress watch Bauhaus style case here. The case is made out of stainless steel and features high polish finish pretty much everywhere, including the lugs. The lugs are well sculpted and add some visual interest to this timepiece, although I'm not quite sure if WM Watch can claim much credit for the lugs design. The push-pull signed crown is well proportioned and is very easy to engage. Flipping the case over and we are faced with exhibition caseback, which is brushed on the perimeter and has key specifications engraved there too. The caseback is secured by 4 screws, which is okay for a dress-style watch with a 50 meters of declared water resistance. So far so good. However, if I was looking to improve anything about this case, I would probably try to make the caseback maybe about 0.5 millimeter thinner. Although, while it looks like it's sticking out quite a bit, this watch still sits fairly flat on the wrist and should slide under shirt cuff without any problems. As for the dial, yes, the layout is strongly influenced by the movement in the back of this watch and, of course, by the Bauhaus minimalistic style. However, I would say that WM Watch does not score very high on the originality scale here either. As for the execution, though, it is really good. The printing is crisp, there are no applied elements on this dial, and we even have a bit of lume for practicality, although it is not strong, as I will demonstrate in a moment. As for the layout, along with the usual 3-hand arrangement and the date window at 3 o'clock position, we also have a 24-hour sub-dial above the 6 o'clock marker and, one of my favorite complications, a power reserve indicator around 12 o'clock position, marking 40 hours of potential power reserve, in line with about 40 hours of potential mainspring power in the Miyota 9132 caliber. And as I promised, here is my 15-minute lume test. Okay, it is of course better than no lume at all, however, really not much to write home about. As for the bracelet, it feels surprisingly good. Okay, the integration between the N-links and the case locks is not more seamless I've seen, however, the high polish finish on the case and on the N-links is almost identical, and we have good quality finishing on the rest of the bracelet too. We have very little articulation in the first links attached to the N-links, however they point down quite aggressively, and this lack of flexibility does not present any issues in terms of wearability. The rest of the bracelet has very good fluidity and good tolerances, and the links are connected by pins here, which is fine at this price point. We have classic butterfly clasp, which works well for this style of watch. Simple butterfly clasps like this one are usually quite robust, however they do have a common shortcoming – lack of macro adjustments. But in this case, WM Watch took care of this by installing half links and allowing for more accurate sizing of the bracelet. And of course, we shouldn't forget that with 20mm lugs, this Bauhaus-style dress watch is a little strap monster and will look great on different straps, especially on the black leather strap. And here is some more footage of this watch on my about 7-inch wrist. As you can see, despite a slight perceived protrusion of the back case, it still sits quite flat on the wrist. Right, verdict time. Well, a couple of things we need to note here. First, of course, the originality of the design, or lack thereof. However, to be fair to WM Watch, they offer this timepiece in more colorways compared to German brands. And another very important factor, we still get here exactly the same Japanese Miyota movement, 9132. And we also get an upgrade to the crystal to much more premium boxed sapphire. And of course, all this for considerably more affordable price. What are your thoughts? Well, do let us know in the comments. And for more seriously cool Bauhaus-style dress watches, check out my link on the screen over here. Don't forget to like and of course subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.